People of Reddit, what is the strangest thing you've experienced but can't explain? Posted 2 days ago. When I was little, I had bad dreams, so one night after waking up many nights in a row, my dad told me that my dreams were just like the TV and I held the remote. Ever since then, I was almost always aware when I was dreaming. I was always aware of being able to control them and knew when I was dreaming. There were only a few times that I was unaware I was dreaming, and this one still raises goosebumps on my arms. I found myself in the dream, presumably in a far advanced hospital-type place in the atmosphere. The farther away from the dream I get, the fuzzier the details become, but it was obviously some kind of technology that was far more advanced than the kind we live with now with floating hospitals in an airborne city. I was laying on a table and had concerned faces all looking down at me as I struggled to breathe, and my heart was pounding so hard it physically hurt every beat. The woman leaning over me put gloved hands on each side of my face and spoke. "We have to restart your heart to get its rhythm on track. When we do, you're going to wake up somewhere else, somewhere that's going to make this place feel like a dream. Whatever you do, you must go back to sleep. This is not a dream. That place, whatever it is the dream. Don't forget. You have to go back to sleep and come back. It's going to feel realer than anything else you've ever felt. You'll have memories of a life there, but it's not real." She says this while the other doctors are all running around and there's chaos all around me. I could hear medical alarms and sirens, and the ship was rumbling, but I tried to focus on her words as they prepared to save my life. I could hear the machine charging and the shout of someone yelling, "Clear!" And I woke up in my bed here, panicking. I immediately tried to go back to sleep and began dreaming in and out of being there and here until I finally slowly woke up here. The rest of the dream starting to become harder and harder to remember the farther away I got from it. Now every night I wonder as I fall asleep, which dream am I going to wake up from? I saw a 40-foot UFO over my head when I was 14 or 15. No drugs, no alcohol, and I've tried to contact my old friends at the time, but none want to talk about it. It's to the point that I basically don't believe it happened, but remember everything about it. I'm also a natural skeptic, so it's just hard. When I worked at Toys R Us and took a smoke break with a few of my coworkers, someone said, "What the hell? Look up at the sky." Everyone standing there saw a slow-moving V formation of 8 flying lights, the 8th one circling the 7th. The news said it was a weather balloon. I forgot about it for 15 years, and then the memory popped back into my head. I was staying at a hotel by the beach, and I woke up during the night and went outside on the patio overlooking the ocean for some reason. There was a bad thunderstorm, but there was a spotlight coming from the sky pointed at me. It was looking at me. I thought to myself, how cool, then went inside and back to bed. I later found online that the area has a lot of UFO sightings and people have reported similar experiences. Once, when I was younger, me and my parents were in my mother's hometown and we went to the beach I had never been to. When we got to the actual beach, we had walked there from our car. I got these weird flashbacks of me running after 2 little kids, a boy and a girl. They were squealing and laughing, saying, "You can't catch me." There was a woman standing beside me smiling and laughing as well. I remember she was wearing a long dress and had long blonde hair. I've never talked about that to anyone, but I have no clue what caused it or who the people in that flashback were. After a party, I was laying on my friend's couch that was outside and I was looking at a star and it started kind of moving and I just figured I was drunk, but I kept watching and sure enough another light came out of it, circled around it for a while, and I went in to show my friend and he goes, "No way," and then comes out and looks, doesn't say anything, but slightly acknowledges, "Yeah, we're both tripping, and nah, I can explain, it was fucking aliens." When I was 21-ish, I went to Spain for a music festival, was a bit stupid and bought an open return coach ticket from London to Paris and a one-way coach ticket from Paris to Valencia. The festival was in Benicassim. Went to the festival, had fun, had to come back. Someone took me in his van to Montpellier in the south of France, and I had to get to Paris Gallieni for my coach, which was open, so I only had to tell them when I was returning to guarantee my spot on the coach. I didn't have a plan or money to get to Paris, so I thought fuck it, and bunked the super fast train. Had to hide in the toilet for 3 hours on this train. Anyway, I get to Paris and it's like 11:30 p.m. or so. Run down and get on the metro before I realize this is the second last metro of the night, and there are 2 Paris Gallieni stops on the line. I get out at the first one, and I don't recognize it after walking around, so I decide that I'm going to have to take the last metro and hope it's the other one. I get out at the next stop, and I don't recognize it either, and can't see any signs for a coach station, so I'm close to giving up when a stranger appears out of nowhere and says to me in English, "The coach station is that way," while pointing. I hadn't said a word, so I don't know how he knew I was English. I don't even look very English, or how he knew I was looking for a coach station. I started walking the direction he pointed, and he shouted, "Run!" after me. So I did. I get to the coach station and ask the man if I can jump on the next coach to London with my open return. It's around midnight by now. The guy behind the counter says, "Yeah, you're lucky. The last one leaves in 2 minutes, and there's only 2 seats left on it." If that guy hadn't appeared and directed me and told me to run, I would not have got on that coach and would have had to sleep in a rough part of Paris, probably on the streets. I think it was a guardian angel, to be honest. Not as crazy as some other stories here, but wild for me. TLDR. Met a guardian angel in Paris who helped me get the last coach back to London with no prompting and no way he'd known I was English and spoke no French. One time, when I was like 10 years old, 18 now, I was walking down the hallway of my house and I swear I saw some sort of shadow-like figure, but after I blinked it had disappeared. It gave me chills almost like it had passed through me. For some reason I wasn't scared, I was just curious. I feel that I felt like this because once it disappeared I knew it was gone. Never felt anything like it again. I'm also non-religious and don't believe in supernatural things, but this makes me question that sometimes. I don't believe in ghosts, but this freaked me out at the time. I was touring an old antebellum mansion in Demopolis, Alabama with a large group. We were in a room listening to the tour guide explain something or other, and my back was to a wall. I felt a hand reach out and touch my back. No one was there. No one to my left or right could have physically reached me from where they were, and no one could have physically fit behind me. One night, late, probably around 1 a.m., I was in my backyard having a couple smokes with my neighbor. We were just talking about everything and nothing, just hanging out. The night was dark and clear with no moonlight. Our part of our town was at the edge of town, on a high part known as Dutch Hill, so there wasn't a lot of extraneous light from a bunch of streetlights, so the view of the stars was good. As I'm looking at the sky, I can see this area that was clearly defined with sharp edges and was shaped like a long, somewhat wide bar that was darker than the rest of the sky. I was staring up at this bar as it's slowly moving across the night sky, transfixed. It was there. It was real. It was moving across the sky like we were being scanned. One night I was lying in my bed, relaxed but not tired, had a white curtain with gold stripes to my right of me, and while I was staring at it, I noticed some kind of snow or something. I blinked and even closed my eyes to try to see if it was just me, but I still saw what looked like a snowfall right in front of my face. I actually panicked a little and turned on the lamp on the left side of my bed. It is one of those lamps that has a clear glass layer around the bulb with air bubbles in it, making a wavy pattern on the ceiling. It was now only really there when I focused. Looking at the wavy but still pattern on my ceiling, it suddenly had a smooth, wave-like motion going back and forward in a meditative way. This time it was so calming I admired it. I looked at the lamp and it was completely still. After like 20 minutes of awe, I turned it off and went to sleep. Fast forward a few months. I'm in a class, sort of learning, as you do, and I see out of nowhere white sparks, falling like falling leaves of a tree. Looking at different places didn't move it, so I knew it wasn't my eyes. I nudged a friend and pointed to them, and he looked at me like a crazy person. I still don't know what it was. I haven't had any of those things occur since, except the lamp, where if I focus, I can see the wave motion. Still don't know why. The sequel, not me. One time, I had 2 friends who, at the same time, confronted each other at her about a dream they had with the other. They both explained the exact same dream, but from each other's point of view. I was standing up and listening to my aunt explain how to do CPR. For a while, I started seeing blue stars about me and I was getting lightheaded and I started to freak out. I sat down and after a while I felt fine and I never had that experience again. My only reasonable explanation on why I was experiencing this is that I get extremely uncomfortable when people start talking about broken ribs. My auntie was mentioning a scenario if we broke their ribs to keep going. That's the only thing I can really think that caused this. Visiting a haunted Ursuline academy with a Civil War-era infirmary. Pitch black former infirmary room with no windows or outside light and doors closed. We looked over and the bed was glowing with a faint outline. Same trip, in a large church attached to the building. We're taking pictures in early digital days. My friend had taken probably 50 to 60 shots around the church as we moved toward the altar. Being Catholic, there's a reliquary there. He goes to take a picture and the formerly fully charged camera completely dies. He changes batteries and takes another shot pointed elsewhere, turns back to the reliquary to take another, and the camera dies again. Time to move on. Many moons ago, a friend and I were driving on the highway, heading to do some shopping and get food. We ended up right behind this pickup truck that had a lot of loose lumber and construction material bouncing around in it. He and I turned and looked at each other, and without saying a word, he moved 2 lanes over and slowed down to get away from this death trap. About a minute later, a large piece of wood comes tumbling out of the back of the truck and onto the highway. At the angle it came out, it would have smashed right into our windshield. It bounced over the 2 lanes and we wound up running it over anyway. We pulled over and were going through the whole "holy shit, did we just almost die" conversation when my phone rings. It's my wife. "Are you guys okay? I was taking a nap and had a dream you were in a car accident." I share a room with my brother, and our bedroom door will randomly open if you don't close it at a certain way. We used to get scared as kids when it would randomly open, so now every night we make sure it's closed the right way before we go to bed. One night, my brother and I were watching TV, and eventually we just got too tired, so we didn't bother closing the door the proper way. We eventually just knocked out. Then later that night, I randomly wake up. It's dark, and I see a shadowy figure of a man walk across my room. I try screaming and moving, but I can't. It was the first time I had sleep paralysis. I see the figure walk towards the window near the bed my brother was sleeping in and just stare out the window. Eventually, I fall back asleep. The next morning, I go to work and tell my coworker about the dream I had last night. She reassures me that I just had sleep paralysis and it's nothing to worry about because she gets it all the time. I'm like, yeah, I was just really tired last night, so it probably was sleep paralysis. When I get home from work, my sister's home, I tell her, "Yo, I had the craziest dream last night. I think I had sleep paralysis." But before I tell her my dream, she said, "You had sleep paralysis?" "No, you didn't, because I think I saw you randomly walk into my room last night and stare out the window." I was tripping out because she told me exactly what I saw before I even told her. I don't think it could have been a stranger or a burglar in the house because I have 4 dogs and they would have been barking the entire time. Probably one of the most weirdest things that's happened to me.